So this is part 5 of the Defender rebuild. I'm going to be doing the bulkhead, swapping everything off that old one onto a new one. So I've started off by taking the steering column out. So I've just undone these bolts, which hold up there and on this bottom bracket here. So there's 4 bolts there that bolt it to the bulkhead. It is loose, but there's something behind the dashboard holding it in. So I'm going to take the dashboard out and see what's behind there. There is, all this has to come off as well, which is just this little screw here, I think, and then that should just slide off as long as everything's unplugged. So that's what we're starting with first, getting that steering column out and the dashboard. So I've just moved my bulkhead so I can get to the other side. You can see that I've loosened this screw off, and all that will just slide off. I just need to unplug these, and it looks like there's bullet connectors in there for them. So I've just undone this. Now this were just 2 screws, one at the top there and same on the other side, and that was it to get into there. But it does look like there should have been 2 others at the bottom there, but they weren't in. So behind there I need to unplug the gauges, and you can see that the steering column's got this little bar here holding it in. So hopefully it's just that. Undo that and the steering column will come out. So I've got that off the steering column now. It was 4 bullet connectors, 2 either side. They were very tight, so I used a bit of heat from a heat gun just to warm up a little bit, and then a pair of pliers, and then they come off. So I've undone this. I've just moved that bolt to the side. It is loose. I'm just trying to get in just to see what's stopping it coming out. So I've taken both sides off and then the top piece. So these just unscrew easy enough. This side's a little bit harder because you've got these heater cables, but just taking them off, and then to take this top part off the dash, there's just a couple screws along the top, the main 3, and 2 little vents for the heater. To get the steering column out, I'm going to have to take it out the front way so that slides down, and that's because I've just pulled this plate off. That's just stuck on. It's a little pry bar to get that off, apart from them 2 bolts which are already taken out. But because of this, it won't fit through that hole, so that won't come off, and that hole's only small. So what I'm going to have to do is take this, where the key barrel is, off, and that's just 2 bolts under here. But they're snap bolts, so when you tighten them up, the head snaps off. So I'm going to have to drill and try extract them out to get that off. But I'm going to take this bottom dash off just so I don't bash this too much, and then I'll be able to twist that upside down and get them drilled out. So it's all off now. The bottom part of the dash were a bit harder to get off because of these 2 little bolts here, that one and that one. That's because you got to take everything else off to get to them. Now I've got the steering column out as well, which is there. And what I did with that was I ended up just cutting down the side of each one with a grinder and just cut that clamp off. That clamp isn't that expensive to buy, so I'm just going to put a new one in. I did try drill it, but I started off centre, and it really just cutting it with your grinder. So get the wiring out now. I'm just going to pull all the wiring out this side, through the back, and go from there. So I'm onto the new bulkhead now. I've swapped the wiper motor over already, and I'm just on with the loom. So this is the full loom out the old bulkhead, and what I'm doing with this is just wrapping it with tape, the fabrics type, just so it looks a lot nicer and cleaner. This is the tape I've got. tesser. And then once I've finished wrapping that, I'll push back through that hole in the middle, and then half will go up behind the dashboard, and then the fuse panel I can screw to there, and then that's the wiring in mainly, and then I can start putting the dashboard back on. So I've put my wiring loom in now, wrapped the inside as well. So some of these wires will go through the bulkhead here, and then I've put them ones through already through there. So I just need to put them to the right side of the engine, and then I'm on to the dashboard, can go back on at the bottom. So the bottom of the dash is on the new bulkhead now, and the next part to go on is this, which is the vent panel, which goes across here. And what I've done with this is I've just cleaned it up by blasting it with aluminium oxide grit in a sandblaster, so I can paint that. Got rid of all the rust. And then I've got the steering column. I need to clean that up as well, sandblasting, and the clutch pedal. Now this was seized, the pedal was stuck in there and it wouldn't move, so I've had to knock this pin out. There's a little pin in one end, knock that out, and then that pin will slide out. So all that needs cleaning up as well and painting before it goes on. So the bottom of the dashboard's in now. I've just stuck these vents in with some sticks all the way around, which will hold them in. The reason I've used that instead of drilling and riveting is it's a new bulkhead. I don't really want to drill through the galvanising, and the vents didn't just fit as good as the old one did. So now that's on, I can put this piece on which I've painted. That sits in there at the back. So I'll slide that in and bolt it up. So that panel's in now, and the vent levers are in. So the next part will be the part for the gauges. So this is the old one. You can see it's all cracked and broken down there. So I've got an aluminium one, but this wouldn't fit in, so I've had to sand a little bit off the edges there, off that back edge, because it's too tight when you put it in. It's pushing on the dashboard, and it wasn't very good, so taking a bit off there, it's a lot better fit now. So I've just got this grey piece of trim in. There's a little press stud there, and one at that end. It's a very tight fit to get in. I had to take the passenger side vent lever off. There's a little bolt at the back. So took that off, slid that in, and then put that back through and bolted it up from the other side. So now that's in, I'm going to do the steering column. So I've got it all painted there, all the brackets, new foam seal, and the new bracket and bolts. They're the snap bolts for the key barrel. So now I need to slide this through the front, in through the front and through that hole there. Slide it through and out the front. Then I can put the key barrel on and fasten this wiring up and put the column switches on. This bit of trim as well, I've left these out. There's little studs in the bottom which had some more little plastic push-in bits, but it's solid, it's tight enough as it is. And I'd have to drill the bulkhead, I think, to get them in. And it's not going anywhere as it is, so I'd rather not drill the bulkhead for them. Something else I've noticed that these little plastic nuts, which are everywhere, they're on the bottom there, on the top here, around the gearbox tunnel. They're really hard to get in. So I've had to sand a few of the sides down a little bit, so that tight. You can push them about that far by hand, and then you can't get it any further. But I found that this tool for the exhaust hangers works really well. So it gets behind it and you can push down straight on like that. I've just found out that the steering column will not fit in with this lower dash on. So I've just taken that grey bit of trim out because there's two little bolts that hold this bottom dash on. You can see one in there, little screw there. Problem is, steering column fits through this hole, but there, that little bit is where the dash is. The dash sticks out and blocks the hole, so it won't fit through down there. So back off, column in, and back on. So I'm at the same stage as well before, but the steering column is now in. So when I put that in, I take this pedal off, and it was very tight fitting in. And once I put this back on, these holes wouldn't line up, so I couldn't get the bolts in. And that's because in this corner here, it's touching there. So the steering column was touching the pedal. So what I had to do was just use die grinder and just slightly take a little bit off them. It wasn't much, but just enough so that fit back in. So now I've got all this to plug in. That side, there's a little corner to go on for the dashboard, and obviously the top piece. These switches, I've made a little new switch holder instead of the plastic one. I'm going to do the same in here. I've got a piece cut out for it, so I'm just going to polish that up a bit just to blank them holes off while I decide what I'm doing with them. I don't know what I'm going to put in there just yet. So next job's, I'll put that corner piece on and plug all these in, put the indicators back on around the steering column. My dashboard's now done, all back together. Put both ends back on. Heater controls are back on. I put a bit of oil down the end of the cables for these, so they're a lot smoother. They were quite stiff before. The gauges will have to come back out again, but it's just these screws here, and that's for the wiring. There's a little bit to do behind there. And the steering wheel, I've got an Optimil Boss, so you can remove that. So now the dashboard's on, that is it for this video. In the next video, which won't be as long to come out as this one has, I'll be doing the clutch pedal, put that in, piping up, brakes to pipe up. I've got a few nice bits from Ali Sports Well to go on. So that's